Okay, let's have a look at the next question. From your experience helping in rural schools, how do you think access to high quality education can be improved across Australia? Well, this is the $64 million question, isn't it? Because in both rural and remote and regional settings, anywhere outside of a metropolitan area, one of the most challenging things in Australia in particular, because we are such a massive country, is that there isn't yet equity in the access to educational opportunities that students experience. And I remember reading a study years ago that I think was partly overstating this idea, but it isn't really in the substance of things, and this is a real indictment on us and the education system that we have. It said that postcode is one of the best predicting factors of how a student will go in their final school exams, which is really tragic, right? It shouldn't be because of where we live, either privileged or otherwise, that determines our learning outcomes, academic, social, sporting, extracurricular, all the rest, right? So what kinds of things have I seen? Because I've had the joy and opportunity to be able to work with a large number of schools in sometimes very remote or rural settings. What kinds of things have I seen that can help that? Well, number one, it's got to be the classroom teacher has to be trained and supported and equipped to do a great job. I've never met a teacher who wants to give students a bad experience of learning. That doesn't mean we're all equally equipped or supported, but being able to learn the things that will be helpful, to have access to resources and materials, the teacher in the classroom is the single most important school-based factor that affects student learning. So making sure that they, who are often doing the best that they can, I work across New South Wales public schools on the smell of an oily rag sometimes, they need to be supported, provided time and access to materials and resources and professional learning. And maybe I'm biased in providing that answer because that's frankly part of my job, and the reason why it's part of my job is because I have a passion for delivering that kind of support to teachers around the state and around the country. Maybe I am biased in that, but I think it's also still true. So there's one piece of the puzzle. A second piece of the puzzle is around technology. Technology is not a replacement for a human being. So many times throughout history, people have seen the introduction of educational technologies, and people have heralded like this will revolutionize education and teaching and learning. And fundamentally, teaching and learning in schools is still the same thing that it was, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, despite how the promises of AI and the internet and the personal computer and mobile phones and the radio, all of these things are technologies that have influenced and provided support and enriched teaching and learning, but they've never replaced human beings. And I think part of that is because learning is a social exchange. So all of that being said, technology does have this incredible power, particularly to bridge this rural, regional, and remote divide. It is tremendously expensive, and the tyranny of distance between places, not even talking about from metro to non-metro, even from one regional centre to another, it can be within New South Wales 4, 5, 6, 7 more hours between communities of schools and education that can provide help and support to each other. And it is simply not practical. You can even provide the money for these teachers to access professional learning, like I was mentioning in the first point, be able to leave their school, attend conferences and that kind of thing. But the sheer time that's involved in going those distances means that even when the funding is available to release teachers to do that, that doesn't mean that it's actually feasible for those opportunities to be accessed. And that's where technology can be really powerful. All the work that I do, you are able to interact with people through online meetings, being able to publish things. I, of course, have put lots of videos online which are just one little piece of the puzzle to help teachers have access to what other educators are doing. All these kinds of things, I think, are aiding the ways that we can improve equity in education. I'll say one more thing, which is that being able to sustain that change and build those networks is really key. And it's not easy, but I think that education, schooling, teaching, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And the way that you survive and grow and thrive as an educator, and indeed this is true across multiple professions, but I think it's particularly true of education because so much of the work you do as a teacher is alone. I mean, you're with students, 30 students, but you're alone as a teacher in the room most of the time, and that can feel very isolating and exhausting. And so being able to foster and benefit from all of those different connections with other educators is really vital. And so that connects to the first two things that I mentioned. It's through other educators, more so than just Googling things randomly or seeing it on social media, that I find out really fantastic resources and material and get support. It's through technology that we can reach out to and have regular meetings with people who are hundreds of kilometers away from us. So I think these are some of the pieces of the puzzle. There is no silver bullet to this challenge, because if there were, we would have found it already and solved this problem. But I think it's important that we do not lose hope and keep on applying ourselves to solving this problem and investing in it, because there's no other way that we're going to actually change that situation than with concerted, strategic and long-term efforts.